Okay, hello. So for those that don't know me, I'm Joe Barnes. I'm the kind of the player that Dave Enderby drags out of the pub on a Friday night to play. But with me, I've got he's a Mr. Southend. He made his debut in 1994. He's club captain. He's captained every side. He's won kind of the 100 club more times than any other man alive. So with me, I've got Wayne Spear. Hi, Wayne.
Hi, how you doing?
Yeah. And do you remember your debut for Southend? So down on play cricket, we've got you 1994.
Yeah, um, I do. I remember my first ever adult game. Um, I don't know if it would have been on play cricket though, if it's the one that's on play cricket or not,
Oh,
because
yeah,
I
so we
would have
go
been.
back before 94.
Yeah, definitely. Because I started, obviously play cricket's, I know the stats and stuff, all the score books and stuff. I remember my first ever game, I was 11, adult game, I was 11. I was taken on a Sunday game to Gallywood up near Chelmsford. Um, first team's captain's wife actually played in that game. She was one of the first ever women's cricketers. So I do remember it quite fondly. But yeah, 94, I would have been 14. Trying to think, probably playing freeze maybe.
13, away at
Yeah,
Loughton.
away at Loughton.
And as a 14-year-old, you were stuck in to bat, whatever I got, you're batting at three. Not much of a challenge. You've been dragged off the street, young kids, batting at three. You managed to score 2 runs
All right.
and
Did I get
eventually
bowled or
lost the
caught behind?
game. Low scoring game. Loughton chased 174 down to win.
Right.
And won by 9 wickets in the end. No, so you've been around for a long time. What are your kind of most memorable games playing for Southend? Have you got a real moment that kind of stands out for you?
I obviously remember I remember my first game in the first team away at Loughton, believe it or not. And I don't know the date, but Essex were playing on the telly, and it was the day that Glen Chappell ran through us in the final. I think Essex were all out for next to nothing. And I got bowled twice in the same over by a lad called Kevin Thomas, who was a quick West Indian cricketer. And he was towards the end of his career by now. And I went out to bat at maybe 7 or 8 as a youngster, 15, 16. And the first team captain, Craig Port, was up the other end. And he just sort of said to me that just do what you can. I got bowled first ball. And the umpire put his hand out and said, "Big no ball." And Craig, being Craig and not being, we were 15, 16, we were part of the boys by then. He started laughing because he just knew that meant I had to face another ball from this quick West Indian. And I managed to miss the second ball. The third ball I got perfectly into line with, perfect for defence. The fourth ball, he managed to bowl me again. this wasn't a no ball. So that's my first memory of playing first team cricket. I've got lots of memories of playing with some of the legends of Southend Cricket Club down the years, Doc Singh and sort of some of the youngsters, John Horn, Steve Johnson, playing over at Victory Sports. But yeah, it was. I do remember. I remember the early days quite fondly. Really, it was. We had a good laugh. There was a good team. Things were very different. The youngsters weren't treated how they are, or how they have to be today. We were thrown in the deep end, and part of one of the boys' men straight away. So yeah, it was good.
And so you talked about kind of the team. So when you get picked on a Saturday and you're looking down the team sheet, who do you want to be playing with? What kind of the guy?
I mean, it's obviously important.
These days.
It's important, when you're first starting out. I think it's important to be playing with your friends. You want to play with your mates. Yeah, you want to. It's a long day, Saturdays. As a youngster, all we wanted to do was be out the house for 8-9 hours a day. And the older guys, they were brilliant. Pete Stannards, Liam Bucklers, Graham Butler, Del Montes, brilliant guys. Some of these are still around now. brilliant guys, had such a laugh with them, and you wanted to be around them. But obviously, you wanted your mates, your age group as well. So, Newman was well above us by then. Newman was gone. He was been taken by the first team by the time he was about 11, bowling and opening the batting and whatever else. So, but yeah, me, Steve Johnson, John Horn, you wanted to play with your friends when you're young, because you still need that little bit of, I remember, again, I can picture a day like it was yesterday. Me and John Horn probably spent 2.5 hours on a slip cradle over at Buckhurst Hill, playing for a Mars bar and a can of Coke, for who would drop the catch next. Like, and I can picture that like it was yesterday. And those are the days, boiling hot day it was. So, yeah, I think when you're set out from cricket, it's a long, long day. You want to play with your friends initially. When you get a bit older and you get a bit better and you're playing at a higher level, you want to be looking down that team sheet and think, like, I want to be playing with strong players. I want to be playing with good players. And I think that's why people generally struggle to drop. Once they've gone to the top, they struggle to come back down the other way, because they look at the team sheets, and if their friends aren't there, they're looking at some of the cricketers and thinking, it's hard. Do you know what I mean? It's hard to accept that you're not quite at that level again. It doesn't really bother me that, as long as there's some people in there that I enjoy spending the day with. Do you know what I mean? That's the most important thing, I think.
So Southend, we're blessed with having kind of tons of characters that play. But who do you think is the biggest character at Southend Cricket Club these days?
As it stands at the moment, it has to be Dave Enderby, doesn't it? Believe it or not, I've just got off the phone to Dale Hackney, who is living in Australia now. He's been out there for 11 months already. Me and him were notorious, but sort of him at keeper and me at first slip. The amount of tellings off me and him had. But as a character, Dale was one of them as well. And that, again, they're the sort of people that you look down that team sheet, and if you see Dale's name on there, you think, it's going to be a good day today. Dave lights up the club. I can't say that spending time on a cricket pitch with Dave is much fun, but definitely spending time in and around the cricket arena and the bar with Dave is definitely. Dave would have to be the best character we've got at the club at the moment.
So, everyone I think has a Dave Enderby story. So, what would be your Dave Enderby story that if you were trying to explain the man that is Dave Enderby, how would you go about doing it?
I've got many. I go back a long way with Dave. So, bearing in mind, I picked him as my kit when I was first team captain, and the club had the club had fallen down, as in the clubhouse had fallen down pretty much. The club had been ripped apart from players, and I picked Dave Enderby as my first team wicketkeeper. So, that'll probably, I should be shot for that. But yeah, how many is there? There's always a story with Dave, isn't there? Whether it's falling over on he could be walking around the boundary. I've seen it. He's walked around the boundary and a ball gets hit in the air for 6. You've never seen anyone get hit by a ball apart from unless it's Dave Enderby. I have seen that. So, just so many, really. I don't think, without really preparing and thinking hard, have I got one specific story for Dave Enderby. It's just, it's like you say, most clubs have probably got one, although I don't know if they've got a Dave Enderby in their ranks.
No, that's right. So you've played for years, but can you remember your top score and your best bowling performance? Do those still stand out? I remember scoring my first 50, so I'm sure you can.
Yeah, I remember my
first 50, first 100.
Yeah, I remember. I got a couple of hundreds in twos and stuff like that, Sunday cricket. But I remember, obviously, my first team 100. I remember me and Kev Grant put on a record stand against Woodford Green. Must have been 2010. I think I got 110. I think I got 110. Kev got right, yeah. maybe Kev got a bit more than that, but yeah, we put on a couple of hundred, a partnership. We scored 340 odd that day, which was one of the highest scores in the league at the time. And then obviously it sort of got eclipsed, as batting became a little bit more easy throughout the years. But yeah, I remember that 100. I remember the day. I remember it being quite a hot day. It was quite memorable. That first team 100. It's quite memorable. Bowling wise, there's never much of a bowler. I always tried to talk myself into being a bowler, but I've got a funny feeling my best figures are 4 for 36, 4 for 46, maybe.
I think you're doing yourself a bit of an injustice. 4 for 13, which is us 4 for 13, which is respectable.
Really?
Like, you can norm it. You've taken a few wickets. Like, you go home and someone will go, yeah, you can bowl a bit.
I've been trying to talk myself into being a bowler for years. No captains ever fell for it.
It's always the case. It's always the bowlers want to go up and bat at the top of the order, and the batters want to come down and turn their arm over.
That's it. Yeah.
So we're looking into kind of next season, and it was a tough. So obviously, last season write off. Season before that was a tough one for Southend. So what do you think we have to do to like kind of rebuild and bring ourselves back?
I mean, obviously, I've been here before, Joe. I've sort of seen this happen a few times with Southend. We set out a plan in 2010 with the merger and stuff like that. That we wanted to become a stable club, play some decent cricket at a decent level. And over the first couple of years, we sort of maybe outdid ourselves a little bit. We were punching above our weight a little bit. So all of a sudden, we had a little bit of money coming to the club. We good sponsorship. People, there was a big buzz about the club. Stu Leslie, our first chairman, obviously after the merger, he brought some big things to the club. We've had the Essex game, Southend United game. So all of a sudden there was a bit of a buzz about it. And a few local cricketers that were good cricketers, we were probably one of the lowest sort of teams at the time, started taking a bit of notice, So we sort of sat down one year and decided that, let's give this a bit of a go. Let's see where we can get to. People like Joe Robbins. Joe Robbins was the first was the first key. He was the first one to unlock it, and then we knew that would bring everything with it. And that was brilliant. And he was fantastic for our club. And we got to the Premier League, and that's my biggest achievement. I think I took us back-to-back promotions, and then we went up to Div 1, and I handed it over to Ross Daines. We struggled. Because we'd gone too quick almost. And then we came back down, we stabilised, and then we went again. But yeah, getting to the Premier League, a few years ago was definitely a highlight. And it was inevitable, really, that we were never going to, without the money, that some of these clubs are pumping into the Premier League. Bearing in mind, it's a competition that you don't win any money for if you win. It's an amateur sport that we play in, although we play at pretty much a semi-professional level at that level. So it was inevitable that there was going to be a drop. And then once that drop happened, these players, you got to accept it that they're going to want to play at the top level. You bring them in. These aren't club men through and through. We knew that. They buy into it while they're here. But Joe was a bit different. Joe bought into the club. His dad, his mum, his nan, the whole family really bought into the club. And I think he's still got quite a fond, feel for the club, But unfortunately, these things are, when you're a good player, you're going to get offered some money somewhere else. You're going to go and take it. And I've got nothing against Joe for that. But we can do it again. I don't think we will rebuild to that level again. But I think we can draw in some local players and some youngsters. And, we are still, in my opinion, the best club. It's the best place to play, without shadow. South Church Park, you've got both pitches now. It's the best place to play in the area by a long way. So, yes, Hadley are our Premier League side now, and Westcliff are looking to get there, and but I think most people would say that if they had the choice of playing anywhere in the area, it would be at South Church Park. So yeah, I just think it's a case of rebuilding, bringing back a few of the old faces, hopefully, to come and help out here, there, and everywhere, and then just stabilising at that level where we probably wanted to 10 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago, whatever it may be, and then just sort of sit there and everyone enjoy their cricket. If you win half your games and lose half your games, I think you'd be pretty happy. It's when you start losing every single game is when it gets tough.
We take a break from cricket. So you're probably Southend's most famous club DJ. But where we know each other best from is bumping into each other on the motorway, driving up to Liverpool.
Yeah.
So what have you made of Liverpool in the last few seasons, and seeing that kind of we talk about meteoric rises. Klopp has kind of done that with the Liverpool sides and taken them from kind of Champions League winners, Premier League winners, and slowly building up. So what have you made of Jurgen Klopp?
Yeah, I mean, again, he's just a revelation, isn't he? It was, if you look back before him, Roy Hodgson, Kenny Dalglish was brought in just to sort of stop the gap a bit as a club hero and stuff like that. And I was at Jurgen Klopp's first ever game. It was Tottenham, 1-1, I think it was it 1-1? Divock Origi started up front for us, and that's, all right, he's still there now and he's scored some of the biggest goals that we've had. But Klopp was always, he just bought into Liverpool, didn't he? You can just see that Liverpool pumps through his veins, and that's so important. I think even if you look at someone like Pep Guardiola, you can't really see that Man City is everything that he dreams about. He dreams about having the best team and playing for the biggest club and the richest club and this and that and winning the big trophies. But you can't see that Man City is everything to him. Whereas I think Klopp is different. And I think that's what Liverpool have always had going back into the, when we were youngsters and 70s and 80s and stuff like that. And, people that and Klopp will go down as one of those, I think now, and that's why he's extended his contract. I think it was again, I think we got there quicker than what he expected, maybe. When you think 3 years ago, Real Madrid in the final lost to an average Real Madrid side, really. A couple of bad mistakes and stuff, but to go again, lose by a point, but win that final and then go again. I mean, that is some serious mentality in that side, and what we are going through at the moment with the injuries and stuff. Everyone else is banging on about it, but you can just imagine them in that dressing room with the belief and going, well, this will be all right. We'll be all right here. I know it looks like bare bones at the moment, but I think the belief in that he's instilled in these players will be like, look, we'll just deal with it. We'll deal with this. It'll be fine.
And do you think so? Jurgen Klopp's kind of sporting mentality is kind of play at 100 miles an hour, play with a smile on your face, really enjoy yourself, go out there to kind of be passionate. Do you think that could actually translate back into cricket? So we've seen kind of some players, Archer, for instance, now he's all about kind of bowl as fast as you can, do everything with a smile. Chris Gale's always the same.
Yeah.
So do you think kind of cricket kind of lacks, and it's that lacks? We need more of those kind of players and coaches that want to do everything kind of passionately.
Yeah, I mean, I think back in the day. I mean, I think back to my first coach, Ken Poulter, and stuff like that, and everything was about technique, and you had to do everything the right way, and everything like that. Now, I think now is you look at it now, and you look at the big bashes and the IPL, and you look at these players, and like you say, playing with a smile on their face, Kohli, and the other week then was a super over, and you got Kohli and AB de Villiers coming out for the super over, and who was bowling? One of the world-class bowlers was bowling, but whoever it may have been, you think, and that's what it should be about now. So should players now just take it a little bit more? It's a bit more. It's risk and reward, isn't it? The problem is on a Saturday, it's different for us. On a Saturday, if you get out first ball on a Saturday trying to run down the wicket, you've got till next week until you get another chance. Whereas they go 24 hours later again. So it is a bit different. But yeah, I think it's I think cricket needs to find its I mean, I've got a little boy, he's 7. You know, all he wants to do, he loves hitting the ball. So all he wants to do is hit the ball. I'm trying to tell him to, you know, you've got to keep it out at some stage. But, you know, but yeah, I think for the kids to be interested again, because there's a big gap at the moment where there's a lack of kids that are coming up. You think when I started going up, you know, we're talking 94, 95, 96, me, Ben Wathen, Steve Johnson, James Homewood, Newman Khan, John Horn, you know, that's 6 or 7 players that all played first team cricket within the last couple of years. You know, all together. I can't, at the moment, I couldn't think of many, you know, groups of, you know, we get the odd individual, the Matt Mohans, Shane Bottrell, but, you know, where else, you know, there's no big groups of youngsters, kids, mates that are all coming through together. So yeah, I think cricket does need to find its happy place again for the youngsters to show that they can, you know, and maybe this season was a bit of a show on that, you know, the shorter formats, you know, lower down. It might have meant the kids enjoyed it a little bit more, 30 overs on a Saturday rather than 40, 50 overs, you know. So yeah, it definitely needs something.
Okay, we were kind of talking through and kind of to take it back. You speak about kind of growing up. Who were your kind of sporting heroes? What made you pick up a cricket bat or a cricket ball? What was Kenny Dalglish your favourite sportsman?
Yeah, I mean, football wise, I was Bruce Grobbelaar. I was a goalkeeper basically as a youngster. So Bruce Grobbelaar, you know, a bit of a strange hero, but yeah, Bruce Grobbelaar, I sort of remember him. He was just because of the character. Cricket wise, I mean, I was very lucky. I lived on on Shaftesbury Avenue, which backs onto the park. So Essex used to come down every year and play there, and because, you know, local knowledge, I might know a few gaps in the fences and stuff like that and manage to sneak in and stuff. So Graham Gooch, you know, I remember watching Graham Gooch as a youngster and always idolising Graham Gooch. You know, I picked up, I don't think I've still got it now, but a ball. Mark Waugh hit a ball out like the winning runs on a Sunday before coloured clothing out, and I ran on and picked the ball up. You know, these little things. You know, I think of some of the players that I've seen play down at South Church Park when Essex were there. I mean, it's phenomenal. I remember Viv Richards played there, you know, Kevin Peterson played there. So yeah, I mean, Nasser, miserable. Nasser was miserable. He was always miserable. But yeah, so Graham Gooch, I mean, my real hero is Robin Smith. Robin Smith was my cricketing hero as a youngster. You'll remember watching him as a number 4 bat. Used to come in and just pummel it everywhere until Shane Warne tied him up in knots. But yeah, I would say those sort of players, those sort of guys. Graham Gooch was a big influence on my cricketing career. Really, you know, come and watch him play down at South Church Park every year. I used to get very excited about that.
Do you think that's one of the kind of problems then with local cricket, is the fact that you had it at South Church Park, I had it at Garrans Park, where you basically in your school holidays, you'd have a week where you go and watch a county championship game for 4 days, and you'd see a one-day game, and you were like, I remember playing like one Laham, one bounce, and Monty Panesar and Ravi Papara came over when we were 13, 14 or whatever, probably a bit older than that. And that kind of, that's why you want to carry on playing cricket, but we just don't have the same kind of access anymore.
100%. And those little things that you just said there, exactly. I remember being in the Southend tent, because we used to have a tent. I remember being in the Southend tent as a 15-year-old, 16-year-old. So at prime time when you're really starting to get into it and, you know, quite good at cricket and stuff like that. And I remember Darren Robinson, who I ended up playing up against when he went to Wickford, and me and him had a bit of a run-in. But Darren Robinson, Paul Pritchard and another came out to sort of practice where we were, and they were just practicing slip catches, and the ball kept going past like second slip basically to where we were. Like, it kept coming into the tent, and they said, someone jump into third slip for us, and I jumped into third slip and took an absolute screamer. but yeah, and those little things are the things that you remember. I can remember that. And then, like you say, just being out on that outfield, one hand, one bounce. At tea, at lunch, at tea, after the game, we used to just play for hours and hours and hours. And the kids, you haven't got that. You haven't got that now. Do you know what I mean? It's, I know the world's changed. I can sound like an old bugger, but getting them kids out. My boy, he'd go over the park. If we lived where I used to live, right near the park, he'd want to be over there 8 hours a day, and he's meant he would. Because I've he's got that in him. He wants to be outside all the time. But there's a lot of kids nowadays that walk in from school, put their bag down, and go straight on the computer. And that's the problem. If I could imagine, if we had Essex playing down the park, and I could take him down there, he would be exactly the same as me. Or most kids would, because they would see it and they'd be like, he's on the telly, and then you've got something about, especially nowadays with the coverage, we didn't really have it back then. I'm not that old, but do you know what I mean? It wasn't quite, you didn't see Graham Gooch on the TV every day, but you do now. Do you know what I mean? Sort of thing. So yeah, I think that's what we do miss locally, all around as well, all around, I think that's and that's a massive impact on cricket, that they feel like now they're out of reach. Do you know what I mean? They feel like they're, especially going into this 100 that they're going to do. They've picked the big stadiums. The local little small villages and towns are not going to see it. They're not going to, and that is probably one of the issues.
I think that's a wrap. Thanks for coming, Wayne.
No problem.
I hope you see you on the pitch next year.
Yes, 100%.
And we'll see what we can do. I might even return for a few games. Nice one, mate. Good to see you.
Yeah, you take care. Take care. Cheers, mate.